The family group chat exploded at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Rachel's message included a screenshot of a wire transfer. $650,000. The caption read, "Finally got rid of Maya's restaurant disaster. Buyers closed today. Everyone's getting paid." My phone sat silent in my desk drawer. I was in a meeting with my accountant, reviewing quarterly statements for my commercial property portfolio. The restaurant building, 447 Larkin Street, a 3-story brick structure in the historic district, generated $8,500 monthly from Chef Morrison's lease. It had for 10 years. Rent received on the first of every month like clockwork. I didn't see Rachel's message until 6:30 p.m. By then my parents had already wired deposits on a Mediterranean cruise. My brother Kyle had put $15,000 down on a 32-foot sailboat. Rachel herself had booked a Tesla and scheduled consultations with 3 interior designers for her kitchen renovation. The spending spree was methodical. Precise. They divided the money within hours. $130,000 to each parent, $130,000 to Kyle, $130,000 to Rachel. The remaining $130,000 was earmarked for family investments, which meant whatever Rachel decided. I stared at the screenshot for 3 full minutes. The wire transfer was real. The routing numbers visible, the timestamp clear. Someone had paid Rachel $650,000 for a building she didn't own, couldn't sell, and had no legal right to even discuss. My building. My deed. My tenant. The first notification came on day 19 of their spending spree. Chef Morrison called Rachel's cell phone directly. She'd given buyers her number as the property owner contact. Standard procedure for real estate transactions, except Rachel wasn't the owner. She was a pharmaceutical sales rep with no property holdings, no real estate license, and apparently no understanding of what constitutes criminal fraud. "Miss Hartwell." Chef Morrison's voice was professional, slightly confused. "This is James Morrison from Copper and Sage. Rent's due tomorrow, the first as always. But I received a notice that the building's been sold." The letter said new ownership, but it didn't mention lease transfers or any changes to terms. I wanted to confirm directly. Rachel, standing in her newly renovated kitchen, granite countertops installed 3 days prior, cost $18,000, went very still. "I'm sorry, what?" "The rent," Chef Morrison repeated patiently. "It's due tomorrow. $8,500, same as the last 10 years. But this ownership notice has me concerned. My lease runs through December 2028. I need confirmation that the terms remain unchanged." "Who are you?" Rachel asked. There was a pause. A long one. The kind that happens when 2 people realize they're having completely different conversations. "I'm your tenant," Chef Morrison said slowly. "At 447 Larkin Street. I've been leasing the first 2 floors for 10 years. From Maya Hartwell." "Is this not Maya Hartwell?" Rachel hung up. He called my parents immediately. Emergency family meeting. Kyle drove over within 20 minutes. "Some guy called about rent," Rachel told them, hands shaking slightly. "He said he's been paying rent for 10 years. He said Maya owns the building." "That's impossible," my mother said. "Maya's restaurant failed. We all know that. The building was going to auction." "She probably hired someone to pretend," Kyle suggested. "To mess with you. Maya's always been vindictive." My father nodded. "Ignore it. The sale went through. You have the money." They ignored it. Chef Morrison called again the next morning. Then his attorney called. Then the buyer's attorney called. Then the title insurance company called. The word fraud appeared in hour 72. I learned about the unraveling from my property manager, David Chin, who'd worked with me for 12 years across multiple properties. He called me while I was reviewing tenant applications for a small office building I'd just purchased in the financial district. My 9th property, acquired quietly like all the others. "Maya, did you sell 447 Larkin?" David's voice was careful. "No. Someone represented themselves as you. Sold it for $650,000. Buyers are threatening to sue everyone involved. Chef Morrison's attorney sent me documentation requests. The title company is investigating. This is bad, Maya. This is federal wire fraud bad." I closed my laptop slowly. Who claimed to be me? Your sister, Rachel Hartwell. She signed documents, provided identification, deposited $650,000 3 weeks ago. The origin story moment happened 11 years ago in my parents' living room. I was 26. I'd been saving for 3 years, working 2 jobs, building credit, researching properties. I'd found 447 Larkin Street, a distressed property, previous owner deceased, estate sale. Asking price, $380,000. I told my family I was making an offer. My father looked up from his newspaper. Real estate isn't for women like you, Maya. You'll be taken advantage of. You'll fail. My mother added, find a good husband. That's a woman's real security. Rachel laughed. You own a building? That's adorable. I bought the building. I signed the deed alone. I renovated the first 2 floors. $45,000 in improvements. Every decision mine. I found Chef Morrison through a commercial broker. His restaurant Copper and Sage opened 6 months later. James Beard Award nomination in year 3. Michelin star consideration in year 7. Every family gathering for 10 years, they asked about my restaurant. I never corrected them. When Copper and Sage won awards, they assumed I'd somehow gotten lucky with a tenant. When the building's value increased, they assumed I'd sell soon before I lost everything. I never mentioned the other 8 properties. The office buildings. The mixed-use developments. The careful, quiet empire built from that first distressed purchase. They constructed their own narrative. I let them. Psychologists call it confirmation bias. My family decided I was incapable, so every piece of evidence got filtered through that lens. Awards became luck. Profit became temporary. Success became a ticking time bomb of inevitable failure. The ghost ledger appeared in my mind unbidden, a spreadsheet I'd never created but somehow always maintained. Entry 1, Year 3. Father asked about my restaurant at Thanksgiving. Suggested I get out while I could. Cost. The pride of explaining 10 years of careful investing. Never expressed. Unrecoverable. Entry 2, Year 5. Mother told her book club I was playing businesswoman until I found a husband. Cost. Being taken seriously in my own family. Never restored. Permanent damage. Entry 3, Year 7. Rachel posted on social media about supporting my sister's little restaurant dream after dining at Copper and Sage. She'd paid full price. Never mentioned I owned the building. Cost. Public credit for my work. Never acknowledged. Stolen in plain sight. Entry 4, Year 9. Kyle asked to borrow money for his failed startup. When I said no, he told the family I was too attached to my one property. Cost. Relationships built on honesty. Never possible. Fundamentally broken. Entry 5. Every family gathering for 10 years. How's your restaurant? Asked with that particular tone. The one that really meant, when will you fail so we can say we told you so? Cost. A family that celebrated my success. Never existed. Warned anyway. The procedural justice system moved with bureaucratic precision. Step 1. Evidence collection, day 1 to 3. David Chin compiled every document. Property deed registered in my name, dated 11 years ago. Lease agreements signed by me and Chef Morrison, renewed twice, current through December 2028. Tax records showing my LLC as owner. Property insurance with my name as the insured. Bank statements proving I'd received $8,500 monthly for 120 consecutive months. Total documentation, 847 pages. Step 2. Professional consultation, day 4 to 7. My attorney, Patricia Gomez, who'd handled my property acquisitions for 9 years, reviewed everything with her fraud litigation team. She spoke in the careful language of someone who'd seen this before. Your sister forged ownership documents, impersonated you in a real estate transaction, and deposited $650,000 obtained through false pretenses. That's wire fraud, identity theft, and real estate fraud. Federal charges are likely. Step 3. Filing process, day 8. Patricia filed a police report, a fraud complaint with the FBI, and a civil lawsuit. She sent cease and desist letters to Rachel, my parents, and Kyle, all of whom had received money from the fraudulent sale. She notified the buyers who were victims as much as I was. She informed the title insurance company whose investigation had already begun. Each document was filed with tracking numbers, each receipt saved, each timestamp recorded. Step 4. Authority Review, Day 9 to 21. The FBI's White-Collar Crime Division opened a case. Agent Sandra Torres reviewed the evidence systematically. Property records confirmed my ownership. Deed documents confirmed Rachel's forgery. Wire transfer confirmed $650,000 moved based on false representations. Buyer interviews confirmed they believed they were purchasing from the legitimate owner. Chef Morrison's testimony confirmed I'd been the landlord for 10 years. The investigation was thorough, professional, devastatingly complete. Step 5. Counter-evidence, Day 22 to 28. Rachel hired an attorney, $15,000 retainer, which she borrowed because she'd already spent her share of the money. Her defense was creative. She claimed I'd verbally agreed to sell, that the building was a family asset, that she'd acted in good faith. Her attorney produced no written agreement, no contract, no email chain, no text messages, nothing, because it didn't exist. Step 6. Systematic dismantling, Day 29 to 35. Patricia's response was methodical. She submitted the original deed showing my sole ownership, the LLC formation documents showing no other members, the mortgage records showing I'd secured financing independently, the renovation receipts showing I'd paid for improvements from my accounts, the tenant correspondence showing 10 years of direct communication between me and Chef Morrison. Every claim Rachel made collapsed under documentation. Family asset? Here's the deed registered solely to Maya Hartwell. Verbal agreement? Here's 10 years of tax returns claiming rental income. Good faith. Here's the forged signature on documents claiming to be me. The dismantling took 6 days. Each day, another piece of Rachel's defense evaporated. Step 7. Formal ruling, Day 36 to 42. Agent Torres presented findings to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Her report was 127 pages. The conclusion was 3 sentences. Rachel Hartwell engaged in wire fraud and identity theft to obtain $650,000 from buyers of property she did not own. The evidence is substantial and conclusive. Federal prosecution is recommended. The U.S. Attorney agreed. Charges filed. Wire fraud 20 years maximum, identity theft 15 years maximum, conspiracy to commit fraud 5 years maximum. My parents and Kyle were named as co-conspirators. They'd received money from a transaction they knew, or should have known, was fraudulent. Step 8. Enforcement, Day 43 to 49. FBI agents arrested Rachel at 6 a.m. on a Thursday. Handcuffs, Miranda rights, the whole procedure. Kyle was arrested at his office 2 hours later. My parents surrendered voluntarily that afternoon with their attorney. The buyers received notification that the sale was void. The title insurance company began refund proceedings. Chef Morrison's lease remained unchanged. He'd never stopped being my tenant. His rent had never stopped being due. Step 9. Appeals denied, Day 50 to 90. Rachel's attorney filed motion after motion. Each one denied. The evidence was too strong. The crime too clear. The documentation too complete. Bail was set at $100,000 each. They couldn't make it. The money was spent. Cruise booked, boat purchased, renovations completed. Assets were frozen, accounts emptied by their spending spree. They stayed in custody awaiting trial. The consequences cascaded with mathematical precision. Criminal. Rachel faced 15 to 40 years federal prison. Prosecutors offered a plea. 10 years full restitution. He took it. Kyle got 7 years. My parents received suspended sentences. 5 years probation conditional on repayment. Civil. The buyers sued for return of their $650,000 plus damages. Patricia filed liens against Rachel's house, Kyle's assets, my parents' retirement accounts. Everything they owned was subject to seizure. Financial. Rachel's house went into foreclosure. She'd missed payments after spending her windfall. Kyle's boat was repossessed. My parents' lifestyle collapsed. The Mediterranean cruise went unattended, deposits lost. Professional. Rachel lost her pharmaceutical sales position. Her company didn't employ convicted felons. Kyle's consulting business evaporated. Clients don't hire people convicted of fraud. Social. The local newspaper covered the story. Woman fraudulently sells sister's building for $650,000. Faces federal charges. The comment section was brutal. How do you not know you don't own a building? 10 years of rent payments and they thought it was abandoned? The greed is staggering. Their friends distanced themselves. Their neighbors avoided them. Their social circle evaporated. I attended none of the hearings. Patricia represented me completely. I continued managing my properties, continued depositing Chef Morrison's rent on the first of each month, continued building my portfolio. Property number 10 closed 2 months after Rachel's arrest. A small mixed-use building near the university. Good bones needs work. I'll renovate next spring. 6 months later I stood in Copper and Sage for dinner. Chef Morrison had invited me personally, a thank you for the stability of our 10-year partnership. The Michelin inspector had visited twice last month. The recommendation looked good. Your sister really thought she could sell my lease out from under me, Chef Morrison said, shaking his head. 10 years, Maya. I've been paying you rent for 10 years. How did she think that would work? I smiled. She thought the building was a failed restaurant. He thought I was struggling. She thought she was rescuing a bad situation. But this is your business, he said, gesturing to the restaurant. Your building, your vision, your investment that made this possible. No, I corrected gently. This is your business. Your James Beard nomination. Your Michelin consideration. I just own the walls. He raised his glass. To 10 more years. We toasted. The wine was excellent. French. The kind my parents bought for special occasions back when they could afford French wine. My phone buzzed. A text from David Chin. Property number 11 accepted your offer. Closing in 30 days. Historic building near waterfront. Congratulations. I silenced my phone. Rachel's sentencing was next week. 10 years in federal prison. My parents would probably attend. Kyle would serve his time first. Minimum security, model behavior, possible early release. I wouldn't attend the sentencing. There was no need. The justice system had operated exactly as designed. The evidence was reviewed. The charges were filed. The guilty were convicted. The consequences were implemented. Revenge isn't rage. It's not even particularly emotional. It's just watching a system work the way it's supposed to when someone tries to steal something that isn't theirs. They wanted to sell my building. Instead they sold their freedom. The restaurant hummed around me. Servers moved efficiently. Plates arrived at tables with perfect timing. Chef Morrison worked the room greeting regulars. 10 years of rent, never late. 10 years of partnership, built on a simple foundation. I owned the building. He ran the restaurant. Both of us succeeded. My family couldn't comprehend that arrangement. They needed me to fail. They needed my success to be temporary, fragile, ready to collapse. When I didn't fail on my own, they tried to make it happen. The ghost ledger had one final entry. Family who chose fraud over pride. Cost, everything they had. Everything they'll ever have. Unrecoverable. The account is closed. The balance is zero. And from the 11 fortresses I've built, my future continues now.